Well, this is Pat Walker, Mission Winners, doing a video overview of the ETFs. Why do we do this? It helps us see, understand where there is opportunity, but also areas to avoid. Both pieces of knowledge are very helpful to us. Helps us make money and also tries to help us from not losing monies. Remember this, leading groups produce leading stocks. That is a great foundation. That is why we look at the ETFs. And when we see one that are really weak, it also tells us what? Stay away from it. That's power. That's tremendous power for us. So let's go through these. Biotech, BBH, Biotech. This is the 200-day. This is the 50-day. What's it tell you? Stay away. There's nothing to do with it. Leave it alone. That's simple. The next one, cloud computing. Below the falling 200-day, below the falling 50-day. There's nothing to do with it. Leave it alone. Team, you can say, oh, it's going to bottom here. Focus on what's strong now. This isn't strong. Leave it alone. Electric vehicles. Hit new lows for the move this week. There's not a lot of power there. Until it starts to lift, be cautious with it. Dow Jones Internet. What do you see? It's hitting lows for the move. Leave it alone. That's power for us to know that. IBD 50. Look at this on heavy volume. Notice how it has been falling in a wall. Please know this. That's not a reflection against IBD or the IBD 50. No, it's a great publication. It's just the idea of this. They pick really good stocks in the IBD 50. We all know that. But it doesn't. Look at the trend. We can't argue with it. That's indicative of what kind of market we're in. Gold, maybe gold miners. The one saving grace is it's above the 200-day, but there's not a lot of power in here. Look at those selling bars. GLD, similar situation. It was a good run here, but now it's sloppy. There's nothing really going on with this below the 50-day. Here's a great foundation for all of us. By and large, the air is better above the 50-day. Something to remember. Just the action's better. The next one, biotechnology. Look at this. Just like the other biotech ETF. There's nothing here. Leave it alone. Here's the sister right there. See that? There's BBH and there's IBB. Nothing good. Nothing good. Stay away from biotech. Online retail, below the moving averages. Be careful with that. North American technology, below the falling 50-day, below the falling 200-day. Be careful with technology. Please don't think I'm negative, like, oh boy. No, I'm just observing what is. It'd be analogous to going outside at 10 o'clock at the night and saying, oh, it's dark out. It just is. Or going out at 10 in the morning. Oh, it's light out. It just is. Right here, technology is weak. That's all it's saying. Medicine. Below the moving averages, be careful with that. Mid cap, below the falling 200-day, below the falling 50-day, be careful with that. Home builders, this was strong back here, but now it's just nothing. Leave it alone. This is something we do every day. This is something I do every day at Mission Winners. I'll do it with the VIPs, just showing them, hey, here's where the strength is, areas we can look for opportunities to make money, and these are areas to avoid. That's power for us. Tremendous power that we use to make money and also keep us safe. And I like that. S&P growth. It's hitting new lows for the move. Just leave it alone. IWM, small cap. Hitting new lows on increasing volume. Below all the moving averages. Leave it alone. U.S. jets, okay? Airline stocks. Below the 200-day. Now, check this out. Here's this. There's IWM. Here's airline stocks. You go, gosh, I got to tell you, it sure doesn't look as bad as a lot of other ETFs. You're correct. Still below the 200-day. So just got to watch it and see what happens. At this time, team, overall, and this is for everybody, just err to the side of caution. Protect yourself. Regional banking. This has been in a downtrend for a while, since right in here in February. What has that told us? To stay away from it. And you know what? There's people that didn't know this, and they've been arguing with it, and they're losing money. We don't want to do that. Mid-cap, below the moving averages, be careful with mid-cap. Oil services, energy services. This one doesn't look too bad. It was good, okay? But now it's fallen below the 50-day, and it did it on a pickup in volume. You've got to be careful with that, all right? However, did you notice so many of the ETFs are way below the falling 50-day? This one is just a little bit below the rising 50-day. Something to take into consideration. Energy. Here's oil. Just chopping around here, but what do you notice? I just showed you a bunch of ETFs that are below a falling 50-day. This is still above a rising 50-day. Now there's some tail bars here and here and here and here. Be careful with that, all right? Might be some sellers up there. Not showing a lot of power, but it's a lot stronger than many of the other ETFs. Check this out. Online retail. How's this look? Well, I don't think they're buying, Pat. There you go. Infrastructure was strong. PAVE. I think that's a cute ticker symbol, by the way. Was strong, but look at this. Gaps up, runs up, reverses down, and then falls. Below the moving averages, be careful with infrastructure. Pharmaceuticals had a great run. Now it's, I think they need a prescription. Okay, I'm sorry, I had to say it. Needs to bounce off the 50-day. Doesn't look as bad as some of them, but note, heavy selling on this bar, heavy selling on this bar. Be careful with it. We're about done here. Cloud computing, nothing here, folks. Hitting new lows for the move. What does that say? Stay away from the cloud computing stocks. But watch this. Look at back here. This was really good here. Look at that. This was great. We were involved with cloud computing stocks. Are we now? No. Have we been in a while? No. Why? It's below the 200-day. It's below the falling 50-day. Just forget it. Everybody always thinks, this is what I need to look for. That's true. And by going through these ETFs, it also guides us to say, these are areas to avoid. And that helps us a lot. Steel. Gaps up to the 50-day, runs over it, reverses down on a slight pickup in volume. What's the one plus? It's still near the 50-day. But note, it fell on heavy volume here and lifted on much less volume. Just be cautious. That's indicative of the kind of market what we're in right now. Semiconductors, below all the moving averages, be careful. Here we go. Solar, below all the moving averages, be careful. Small cap, below all the moving averages, be careful. Uranium, below the moving averages, a lot of selling right here. Be cautious, just be cautious. Now, this one's hanging in, isn't it? Reversal bar on Friday, but overall, this is still relatively constructive. Oil, okay, there we go. Aerospace and defense cracks through the 200-day and the 50-day, and that's it, it's done. What does this tell you? In 1 second, it says, I think I'll be careful with aerospace and defense stocks. There you go. By the way, you can click on this XAR, find out what their top 10 holdings are, if you're interested. It's especially when it's a really strong ETF. Biotech, another biotech ETF. What's it say? Stay away from biotech. That's simple. Home builders, below all the moving averages. Forget home builders. Materials. How do you build things? How do you build houses? Well, you need materials. But guess what? They're not buying houses, right? Home builders are dropping. Look at this. Dropping also. They all connect together. Energy. Hanging in. Gosh, let me think here. We've talked about oil a couple of different times that it's not that bad. There you go. I'm not saying buy it, but notice there's some strength there. Something to consider. Financials. Ugh. Look at this. Downtrend. Just stay away from it. And it's been telling you to stay away. This is a really good foundation for everybody. I'll just share this with you. I've used this for years, and it's really helped me stay on the right side of things. The air is better above the 50-day moving average line. The air is much better above a rising 50-day moving average line. You say, well, I might miss something. Try to stack the deck in our favor, folks. Why not? Industrials, nothing. Technology, look at this. This was really strong, but look how it's lost its leadership. What's it saying? Be careful with technology. That's powerful information to know. Consumer staples was hanging in and lost a little bit of leadership on Friday. However, it's one of the best looking, strongest ETFs, isn't it? Consumer staples, we've talked about this every week for, gosh, what, the last 6 weeks? That, what is this? Staples, things consumers have to have. You have to have toothpaste. You have to have toilet paper, right? I'm not trying to be weird when I say that. Staples, the necessities. You got to have deodorant. At least I hope you think you do. Okay? Stay away from me if you don't. Just kidding. So it's defensive. But notice, even it's starting to lose a little bit of power here. Fell through the 21-day on a pickup in volume. Trend is still up, but if they're starting to even sell things like this, it's another reason to be cautious. Utilities lost the 50-day. Utilities, I mean, even it's dropping here a little bit. Look at the selling volume. Be cautious. Healthcare lost the 50-day, lost the 200-day. Need to be careful. Consumer discretionary. This is the difference. These are discretionary items you don't have to have as a consumer. And, you know, when things get tough, what do people do? They said, well, I need food, okay? But there's a lot of things I don't need right now. Discretionary stuff, all right? And it's lost its leadership a while ago. Metals and mining, still hanging in there near the 50-day. With some serious selling here, right? And now it's below the 50-day. Again, what have I said numerous times? Things are better above a rising 50-day moving average line. Look at this nice trend. That was beautiful. Energy above the 50-day. Fell a little bit on Friday. But have you noticed the theme? How many ETFs, how many energy ETFs we've looked at that don't look that bad? Here's one. Ready for this? Still hovering near the 50-day, not that bad, okay? And there you go, at the 50-day. It's interesting, isn't it? How we can connect the dots. Financials, stay away. Industrials, like I said, stay away. Sorry I lost my place. Technology, below the moving averages, be careful with technology. It's been telling you to be careful for a while. Consumer staples, we've been through this. Utilities, defensive. It even lost the 50-day on Friday on heavy volume. That's talking. Healthcare, nothing. Look at this. Runs up to, see this? Runs up to the 50-day, gaps down Friday, and closes for lows for the move, falling through the 200-day on a pickup in volume. Consumer discretionary, nothing. I'm sorry I repeated on a couple of these. Metals and mining, falls down to the 50-day, loses it, rallies back, falls back below the 50-day on Friday. Metals and mining, I mean, there you go. Another oil and gas, energy ETF, still hanging in there. I'm not saying buy it, but have you noticed what's the one sector that's still hanging in? Energy related. Something to consider, something to watch, okay? Let it tell you what to do though. Retail, look at this. That's not so good, folks. It's been talking a long time saying the consumer's pulling in the horns. Software, nothing. Below the moving averages, nothing. And back to the top. Anyway, team, and everybody, this is for everybody. It's a great overview of what's going on. Overall, in almost all sectors, there's weakness. Now, let's get down to the max list. This is where the lesson really gets good. First one, as we try to refresh this. Gaps up. This had earnings. I need to pause here and share something. We are in earnings season. It is compulsory to know the dates and the times. No surprises. Look what this does. It rallies right up to the falling 50-day, runs up and reverses down on a pickup in volume. That's negative action. Also, remember this. It's compulsory to know the earnings dates. This had earnings and it gaps up the next day, couldn't hold it. That's talking about the market too. There's Amazon. They had earnings. We talked about this extensively at Mission Winners. Be careful. I don't know how many times I typed it or said it. Be careful. This stock has earnings. We don't know the future. That's an ego game like, well, it's going to go up. We don't know that. Nobody knows. All right. Well, actually, some people know what the report is, but they don't know what the reaction of the stock is. All right. So it lifts up. Oh, it's got earnings. It's probably going to be great. It's Amazon. Well, that's not so good, is it? And we advise our VIPs, be very careful. Be very careful buying this. And they didn't. BIDU gaps up, runs up towards the falling 50-day, and closes near the lows on a pickup in volume. That was met with selling. There's nothing good about it at this point in time. Give it time. Next one, Meta. Look at this, Facebook. Gaps up on earnings, all right? Where does it stop? At the falling 50-day. Everybody knows about the falling 50-day. What's it do the next day? Gaps down, runs up, reverses down. What's the one saving grace? It did it on less volume, but it's below the falling 50-day. It's below the falling 200-day. Be careful with that, please. There's Google. It's below the falling 200-day. It's below the falling 50-day. It's below the falling 21-day and the 8 EMA. No ego like, oh, this is it. This is where it goes. No, there's nothing there. Leave it alone, all right? Now I'm going to go back here and show you something. Right here, this looks awful. But do you see right here? This is a great training coaching time for us. Right there. What do you see? It falls, it rallies, it falls on relatively low volume here. And it has a higher low. Now, we don't know what it's going to do the next day. But at this point in time, it has a higher low. If it starts to lift off here, that could be a potential buy. Oh, look at that. It starts to pick up on about the same volume. Took out the previous day's highs. And then the next day, it does take out these highs of this bar, and it does it on a pickup in volume. That's a trigger bar to buy. And that's the higher low setup, folks. That right there, you call it 29, we'll call it 2970 up to 3400. Do the math. There you go. Let's continue on with this now. Here's Goldman Sachs. It's below the falling 50-day. It's below the falling 200-day. It's in a downtrend. Just leave it alone. You know, don't argue with it. Always remember this. Every stock is bigger than all of us combined. Don't argue with it. Please, I'm asking you. MasterCard lifts up, has earnings, and they take it right back. It's indicative of the sloppy market. Don't argue with it. Microsoft rallies up close to the falling 50-day, and what's it do? The market. The M in Mission Winners, it stands for the market. Please, I'm asking you, don't argue with the markets. Don't argue with the stocks. The trend is, it's down. Leave it alone. Maybe it'll form a higher low here. We'll see. If it does and the market turns, we'll be ready. But right now, nothing. Speaking of higher low, do you see this? This low was higher than this low. And look at that move. There you go. That's what we look for. Tesla, speaking of higher low, this low was higher than this low. We had 3 buys on this. This was on the key list. VIPs bought this. We'll say you got your average price, I don't know, we'll say 820. We'll call it 820, okay? 820 up to a high, you didn't sell at the top, 1150. Folks, that's 300 plus points in 1 week, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. That's the higher low setup, and it works. Now look at it here though. What's it doing? It's just chopping around. Look at these red bars. That's heavy selling. Be cautious. That's what it's telling you. Twitter. We all know the story with Elon Musk, maybe wanting to buy the company or taking a large position, and that's what caused it to lift up here, okay? And now it's pulled back a little bit on low volume. Perhaps it will be in play, but I do want to say this to you. just err to the side of caution on takeover stocks or buyout stocks. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not saying it is going to happen. But just be aware. If you buy, how could you control risk? Buy less shares. We're admission winners. We're good at risk control. And that's not bragging. I don't mean it that way. Everybody thinks, man, this is what I could make. We always have to have a plan as what might we lose. This is also why we love clean and simple base breakouts. It's good above the line and bad below. Last stock on the list, Visa, lifts up right here, takes it back. And this is a great lesson. You see this part right here? I'm going to do something for you. You'll like this. There you go. I took all the moving averages off. This is the lesson for everybody. Remember this. And I used to teach this at the IBD meetups. Just because it's a green bar, okay, don't necessarily think it's a good bar. Just because it's a red bar, don't necessarily think it's a bad bar. Right here, oh, this is a green bar on good volume, Pat. This is a good bar. I'd like you to note the open. This is a great lesson, folks. I'd like you to note the open. It gapped up. It runs up and reverses down and closes near the lows of the day on a pickup in volume. It was met with selling. You combine that with the action of the markets, it's telling you, be careful here. Don't force this. And then you can see what it's done here. All right, just slopping around at this point in time. We'll have to watch it and see what happens. Anyway, the good lesson is just because it's a green bar, don't think it's a good bar. Just because it's a red bar, don't think it's a bad bar. That will help you. Anyway, that's the max list, folks. An overview of what's going on. And I'm going to show this again. We'll do the spiders. Here's the spiders. We know this. It's below all the moving averages. It lost this neckline, and it did it on a pickup in volume. Maybe it's going to fall down and reverse. I don't know. But I will say this to you. For those that know charts, you're not going to see this set up in a lot of books saying, man, this is it. This is the one you load the boat on. Perhaps it will. It'll do a double bottom and lift. You know what's the beautiful part? We don't have to forecast. Price and volume will tell us, and we'll be ready.
Thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We come up with new content nearly every day. Also, check out the videos on the right. YouTube recommends the one on the top, and the bottom one is something we thought you might enjoy. See you next time.